if Patrick Rogers is a C, then Matt McNeely's like a B plus, and
I love this comp. This is my favorite comp of all time. That Mad McNeely is just fancy Patrick Rogers. I love
it really
this.
is.
At Mayo Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, the final word on the 2026 Sony Open, plus all the golf news you need. Weather, bets, breaking it all down, a one and done discussion. In fact, if you have not signed up for the one and done yet, stop what you're doing, hit the description, or just type in fantasygolfchampionships.com. Get in the race for the Mayo Cup. I am going to be doing a live show this evening, Wednesday evening, 8 p.m. Eastern time. I'll be giving away a free entry on that show, a bonus entry, but you need to be in already in order to get that entry. Then show up and ask any golf question you got. I will be there. Stay in until people run out of questions. 8 p.m. Eastern on Mayo Media Network. Sub to the channel. Smash like to this episode because Keith Stewart, I am so happy that we're doing this all year long. It's unfortunate that you're at home and not at the course. I'm sure you would much rather be in a warmer area, but this is going to be the final word. You're going to be able to give us the inside scoop, and you probably inside scooped the whole Brooks thing, didn't you?
Yeah, we kind of knew what was going on there. And, when you think about, hey, welcome everyone to the final word. I'm more than happy to let Pat have it, but to be here with him, do all of this, what we're going to do this season, the ideas, the tricks, the segments, the rapid fire, it's going to be tons of fun. Brooks, that conversation, Pat, that's been going on for a while because they just didn't come up with the rules for the new school there in 3 days. That's for sure. I think we're all certain of that.
So Brooks Koepka is going to return to the PGA Tour at the Farmers Insurance Open, the former Wales Vagina Open in San Diego. Then he's going to play in Phoenix, where he's won before. He has his major access. He has to play himself into the signature events. However, he is not eligible for any of the FedEx Cup bonus money, is he?
He is not, which means that, if he wins the whole thing, he doesn't get the 18 million. That's not going to help put a dent in what he probably had to pay the PIF and, of course, the $5 million. But when you think about it, like when you read through the penalties that he had to go through, it seemed to me like it was so much more like potential losses than it really was like, hey, you have to give us like $30 million. What was your take on all that?
My take was that he made so much money from this live contract to begin with, he doesn't care.
I think you're absolutely right. And I think, in our lifetime with Brooks, he always was the disruptor. He was the guy that was not the conventional, traditional tour player. And then he went out and won everything in the bravado. And now all of a sudden, I think it's quite ironic that he's going to come back. And now he's suddenly like the savior, like recrossing the Red Sea and coming back over here. And will he bring anyone with him, Pat?
No.
Agreed.
Eventually, yes. But in the short term, because they only made 3 other people eligible for this pathway to return. Cam Smith, who's already said that he's staying. Rahm has already said that he's staying. And Bryson is really the big fish that they want. Now that Liv has heard about this and they have unlimited money, well, what's Bryson going to make next year? $1 billion?
Well, when it originally started, they backed up the truck to the tune of about $800 million for Tiger, and he said no. So it's going to have to be around that ballpark, I think.
And I think that they'll give it to them because if you lose Brooks and Bryson, you're cooked. It's over.
Yeah, I would think, although I would put Brooks third. I think Rahm and Bryson are the 2 biggest stars for their kind of world stage and who they're going after. Brooks is a big hit, but he's also 35. Bryson for sure is number 1, and it certainly has all of the star power over there.
I think it's Bryson number 1, but Brooks is a catalyst into the potential Bryson return. Losing Brooks doesn't matter to Liv. At least I don't think so. It's a bigger benefit to the PGA Tour to have him back. Losing Bryson, it doesn't fold the league, but whatever little goodwill and interest that you have left leaves with Bryson.
You remember about 2 weeks ago when all of a sudden it leaked out that Bryson's agent and Bryson's talks with Liv, and he did the interview where he said, things could be better, and I'm trying to do this, this, and this. I honestly think when Brooks dropped out of Liv on, what was it, December 23rd, that conversation, like in the last 3 weeks, they haven't come up with the returning players program or whatever that they're calling it, this new portal system. They didn't come up with that in less than a month. I mean, this is a discussion that has been going on probably with the head of the NFL, Brian Rolapp, right, coming over here and, trying to create his own version of the NFL, but for the PGA Tour. So I really think that someone got to Brooks or got to Bryson and started to have conversations about all this. Would you consider coming back? And this is what the proposed pathway might be. And, I think all this has really been going on for a while. And then now it's finally come to fruition. So I really don't think Bryson's like under the gun to make a decision. I kind of feel like that decision's made already. We won't find out till probably the nth hour. But I think what they're all doing has been kind of played out over the last couple of months, and then we're just learning about it. But you know what? I think it's all great. I mean, it's great for the PGA Tour, and anything that lessens the live talk about what's going to happen with framework and everything that will never happen, makes me happy.
I think the optimal outcome for this, and we'll never be able to know because Bryson needs to sustain his level of play, is it's better for golf if Bryson stays at live yet remains a threat in majors. Because I don't think, as much as people think they want to see Bryson every single week, trust me, we all lived through this like 3 years ago and we saw him every single week and everyone hated his guts.
I mean, I lived with it in person. It's terrible. So I think you're absolutely the optimal situation here. Once we run all the sims, is to have things end up pretty much where they are right now. I would love John Rahm to come back because I feel like he's the type of player that could go after Scotty and Rory when they hit that extra gear. But if we don't get him and we get a reinvigorated Brooks, that would be fun too.
I would love to see Hatton back. I would love to see McKibben play on the PGA Tour. I'd love to see Neiman back. There's a bunch of guys I would love to see back, but Bryson in particular is such an outlier where you don't see him so often. It's a lot like how the WWF used to use Andre the Giant in the late 80s when he couldn't really move anymore. You'd see him wrestle 3 times a year, and it was a really big event every time that he would show up. If you put Andre the Giant on a card, it would sell out. You put him on pay-per-view versus Hogan, you're getting the maximum amount of buy rates possible. If Bryson just sails in 4.5 times a year for the 4 majors, then once at the Ryder Cup, it feels like a big deal when he ends up playing, where it still doesn't feel like that with Rahm. Bryson is such an outlier in that regard. He brings a special magic to the majors right now because he is out of sight, out of mind in competitive play. Dude is everywhere. He's on Live, he's on YouTube, he's the biggest golfer on YouTube. So you can find enough Bryson if you want to actively search him out. But in terms of competition and majors, having him injected with the rolling signature event tour that you see 14 times a year now anyway, which just translates over to the majors, it makes it feel more, not the majors need to feel more special, but with him in it, they do feel more special.
That's absolutely true. And you know what else is true is that I can't wait to see all the different viewers that show up when you throw Andre the Giant in the description for this show. And then who it tags on SEO, and then who ends up here watching all of this about the Sony Open.
I'll take any new viewers. If you're new, sub to Mayo Media Network. You like to listen to audio podcasts, Pat Mayo Experience, wherever you get your podcast. Keith, we're inching towards the top of the charts in the U.S. and Canada. Already number 1 in Italy. Somehow we're number 2 in Venezuela. I don't know who's in Venezuela right now, but they love the PME.
Well, there's 2 less people there than there used to be.
This is true. Maybe they still have it like geo-synced. This is what they're doing to kill time. Listen to us talk about the Sony Open. I am so excited for actual golf to be back. And it sucks that Kapalua wasn't there as sort of like a preseason betting event and like to casually watch golf, because this is a real tournament. It's a real field. Kevin Yu is out. Celinda is in. That's the one field change that we have as of this recording. I doubt anything changes. It's probably tough to get guys, especially with no Monday qualifiers now, to Hawaii to replace players in the field, right?
Absolutely. In a lot of that, with the way that they've locked up the signatures and lack of alternates there and everything, that whole kind of travel, process, and the way the guys hung around for all of the alternates is, it's kind of just going away. So your inclination there is 100% correct.
If you want to check out the other shows, I have the research show, that's out. The DFS, DraftKings pick show, that's out. The bets, the picks, the one and done, that's all out. But we're here to finalize a lot of stuff this week. Here is my betting card for the week. And I have tons of room on this, so I need you to sell me on some guys. And I know you'll have your full write-up over at readtheline.com. And congratulations. I saw you're writing for The Athletic now, too.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, to be a writer and to be published by the New York Times is definitely on my bucket list. So I'm super excited to be working for The Athletic this year. Certainly a premium brand in the golf space. Awesome team over there, but many thanks to their editors. And, they really want to lean into golf and wagering. And, they're not going to do it in a way that you and I wouldn't be proud about. They want to talk about, leans and odds and all the different things that you and I are going to have the final word on right here.
Aaron Rye tops my current betting card. I have him at 40 to 1. If you want 42 to 1, because he's been bet down to like 30 to 1 in most spots, coolbet.com, the sports betting sponsor of this show. If you're in Canada outside of Ontario, you can hit the PME boost and boom, you can get Aaron Rye at 42 to 1, but I got him at 40. Daniel Berger, I have at 75. Billy Horschel, I have at 80 to 1. Pearson Cootie, 100 to 1 with 5 places. Austin Eckroat, 125 with 5 places. That means top fives, if you're wondering. And Jacob Bridgman, no, sorry, not Jacob Bridgman, Joe Highsmith. I always get them confused. 600 to 1 with 5 places. Figure you're good enough to win at PGA National. You're good enough to win at the Sony Open.
One's righty, one's lefty there, just for future.
Highsmith is the lefty, right?
Correct. And the bucket hat.
And you like lefties here.
I do like lefties here. So, I mean, if you want to get into it, when it comes to YLA, you just have so many holes where, well, first of all, there's a lot of pressure to put the ball in play off the tee. At 7,000 yards, par 70, you got to hit a lot of fairways. You're going to have a mid-iron, well, a modern mid-iron. So I'm thinking like a 9-iron or an 8-iron or a pitching wedge or a gap wedge in your hand, attacking most of these greens. The greens are super big for the type of golf course it is. I mean, the golf course from first tee to 18th green only changes in elevation about 10 feet the whole day. So it's super flat, very, very big greens. 7,100 square feet on average. You've got to hit the fairway. Players here hit the fairway about 57% of the time. A lot of strange dog legs, and a majority of them, 9 of the 14, move from right to left. So that's a draw, which we don't see for a lot of modern right-handed players. It's also a fade for the lefties in the group. So Bobby Mack, Matt McCarty, Joe Highsmith, some of the others play the ball a little right to left with a fade. They can kind of softly land that out there. And people will say, "Hey, Keith, you know what? The guys can lay up at the edge of the elbow in the dog leg with an iron or something like that." That may be true. But if a guy like a Johnny Kiefer can just rope a hook around the corner, and 4 of the last 5 holes we've seen, you have to play a right to left trajectory shot. You're going to have an advantage. You're going to be closer to the hole. You should get better proximity. And if you're in a position of contention, you're probably already putting well on these Bermuda grass greens. So I kind of do like lefties here.
Okay. I can be, listen, I have no one below 40 to 1. So I got room to make a few more bets here. You hit on Matt McCarty. I think that he's been a popular bet this week. I like Matt McCarty here. And where I do have Aaron Rye on the card, maybe someone who can putt might be helpful at some point. Matt McCarty, pretty prodigious putter.
Yeah, he's very good with the putter, and he was impressive last year. I really didn't know anything about him. Did anyone really know anything about him when he won Bank of Utah and he came up? So when I start to see him last spring and early 2025, man, this kid can really play. He hits the ball very, very nicely. Ball always kind of falls off a little bit to the left when he's hitting it off the tee. Real good command of his game, and then he could score. So it made sense where he won in Utah. It made sense, the kind of the run that he went on when he gets hot. Back then when he graduated from the Korn Ferry Tour. This is the type of golf course that I'd be interested to see. I'm not 100% sold that he's going to be like a Sedgefield, YLA, Hilton Head type of guy. But, at the end of the day, I do like the things, his shot shape. I do like his approach game, and I do like his putting for a golf course like this. So I'm willing to give it a roll. And, at 55 to 1, where I found him down here in the States, I think that's a fair price because he's a very good player.
Herman was another one I was looking at. Obviously, another lefty, but great irons, accurate. Obviously, he can putt. Great course history here as well. But if we go to the top of the board, and I'll have my finalized cheat sheet in the Mayo Media newsletter. It'll be posted on betspertsgolf.com for free as well. That'll come out Wednesday evening. I'll run through all of that on the live show tonight. We're just saving it a little bit for then, as I need to be talked into a few guys here. JJ Spawn, weirdly, is the one that sits out for me at the top. I bet him here last year, and obviously he didn't win, but notched his top 5. He's 18 to 1. I'm seeing Ben Griffin down to 18 to 1 as well. Like Henley he's moved into such a big favorite at this tournament. I like Russell Henley enough. I think he deserves to be the favorite. There's no chance I'm betting him if I can bet Ben Griffin at 18 to 1 and Spawn at 18 to 1, I'm not betting Henley at 11.
Absolutely not. No. And of those 3, you're talking about 3 guys, and we brought this up in the preview show. That's 3 guys of the 4 that are here that are in the top 10 in the official world golf rankings, which we certainly didn't have on our bingo card come this time last year. So Um, I mean, of those 3, I'd have to say JJ's probably gonna have the most staying power. Griffin would be 2, and then Henley would be 3 of those 3. And now, Henley's sitting at 11-1. I know he has the course history here. I know he won here in his first try, but that was a long time ago. Russell definitely has that ball flight, that right to left that he loves to hit off the tee. He knows the golf course, very good Bermuda grass putter. But I mean, I can't stand all the odds complaining that happens all the time, but I just think there are guys that are 3 and 4x the odds of Russell that can contend with him this week in surely the first event of the season. It's not like Russell played last week at Kapalua.
So who would be those guys? Because I know that Jeff bet on Corey Connors. I'm not really a huge Connors to win guy. I'm more of a Connors top 10 type of guy.
Yeah.
But he's someone who seems to have the proper shot shape here. He's played well here. He's putted well here. He gained putting last year for the first time in his career. Just doubt that repeats itself, but here we are. But his odds have been beat down as well. Like when you're talking about guys that are 4 times the odds, that's why I went with Rye. He does everything Henley does except putt. So you hope for a magical putting week. Like Hideki won here, but if you look at Hideki's history at this course, it's horrible because he rarely does putt at this course. The one year that he did, he ended up winning. He led everyone by a stroke and a half putting. Most years he loses on the greens here. So to say someone is a bad putter doesn't mean they can't have a great putting week. Hideki proved that.
Hideki is certainly someone you have to pay notice to, but the roller coaster and him having won so recently at the Hero and not having a warm-up week at the Century, I mean, at the risk of being redundant, I am more apt to go after an Aaron Rye. In fact, Aaron Rye is someone that I'm very interested in, but I'll go a little further down the board because I mentioned the 4X, and the number there ends up being right around 45-1, and that's a guy like Chris Kirk. Chris Kirk is the type of guy, he finished the season very strong last year, and even when you see him at RSM, he hasn't played golf all fall, so I don't use that as a good measuring stick, but when he comes over to Hawaii, Chris Kirk, I mean, if it's the Hawaiian dancers, if it's the ukulele, if it's the mixed drinks, I don't know what it is. Well, I shouldn't have said that, but you know what I mean. If it's something over there in the air, Chris Kirk really has the opportunity to play well, and his game definitely suits ball flight off the tee, accuracy, wedge game, and certainly can get hot with the putter.
One of the few drawers of the ball as well.
Definitely. Yep.
So
Henley, certainly if we're not talking about the lefties, Johnny Kiefer's another great drawer. And that's the thing. When people start asking me like how people play a golf course, for me, it's all about playability. Yes, at some point I'll get down to the analytics, but I have to design like how I think that if I was coaching Pat Mayo to play this golf course and he was out on tour, like what are Pat's best skills? And then how would we attack the golf course based upon that? And then leading in, if we're not very good at drawing the ball, well, we've got to come up with some sort of tee shot that's going to have to fit in. And when you start to say that there are some guys that are really good with that ball flight, geez, now we're talking about beating really, really good players. And you have to change something you do. I mean, Colin Morikawa has such a strict left to right ball flight off the tee. Sure, he can lay up on a number of these right to left holes, but at some point, it's just not going to fit. In over 72 holes, that's too many pieces left outside the puzzle for me to go that route versus somebody who can really strike their golf ball and put it in the fairway and then attack from there. Because, putting on these greens from long range is no recipe for success.
there was an interesting quote that I read. I believe it was Daniel Berger who talked about it, and there was others. Zach Johnson being another who's played here for each of the past 784 years since this tournament's been going. Zach Johnson's been playing. That it's not an issue because the greens are so big that it's not like they're like hugely segmented like they are at Oakmont. Like it's not that. But if you can get yourself onto the right level, they all talked about how holding long putts is not that big of a deal here. Like you're going to make a lot of long putts as long as you get yourself to the proper tier that you need to be on and putting from the right side. So I found that was very interesting. Just a tidbit from, you could be 15 feet on like just slightly below the hole, but you're on the wrong level, or you could be 30 feet. And they all kind of said they'd rather putt from the 30 feet on the top because these greens are just simply not hard to read.
I mentioned it when we started talking about the golf course. It's just very, very flat. And the greens are huge. And you're right. They don't have a lot of swales. They don't have a lot of movement. They're going to have a lot of grain. And when you look at the winners and their aptitude with the putter, everyone's making it from 6 feet and in. And then there's a lot of putts made over 20 feet. So to back up your point, who's going to kind of spike in those two areas? Well, we want the guy to be consistent close, but then who's going to kind of spike over that range, those end up being the guys, a la like, former champions, like a guy like Cam Smith. He's the type of person that when he gets hot with the putter, which is a lot of events, he's going to start making a lot of 22 to 25 footers. And that's going to outpace and separate from the field. At the end of the day, and you and I talk about this all the time, like off camera, but what are really the separation skills this week at the Sony? Everyone out there is looking for accurate information from us about how the golf course is going to play. And many times they're going to they love our leans. Maybe they're thinking about one or two of those people, and that validates, their methodology for the week. But they want to know how the golf course is going to play. So that way they can come up with their own plan and make their own picks. And that's really where the knowledge that we're going to bring in this show is what's going to separate us. But how do you separate in this field? Got to be a great Bermuda grass putter. You certainly have to be somebody who moves the golf ball from right to left off the tee. You want to be a great approach player. We've established that. And you got to be able to score from like 30 yards and in with your short game off of grainy, crusty Bermuda, whether it's into the grain chipping or it's around the greens and it's, 2 or 3 inches deep. I mean, those 4 things are how you're going to separate in this field of 120 players.
So Friday and Saturday, the wind looks outrageous at this course. Gusts up to 26 miles per hour, sustained well over 20 both of those days. It looks like the guys early out on Thursday are going to get the best of it as of right now. It's going to be raining overnight, then it's going to dry up, and the rain's going to stop. And then there's not a lot of wind until you get to the afternoon in Hawaii. Unfortunately, because this is in Hawaii, they refuse to release the tee times that we probably won't get them until like midday Wednesday. So that's, again, why I'm doing the extra show on Wednesday evening, and I'll have the first round leaders in there. I'm guessing if the wind stays like this, I'm taking guys in the morning. Do you think that fewer greens in regulation are hit this week because of the wind, thus putting a bigger emphasis on what you just talked about, the 30 yards and in, maybe even out of the rough?
100%. But I don't think it's going to make for the contenders that big of a difference at the end of the day. For the field will probably drop 4 or 5% for total greens in regulation percentage. But for the guys in contention, not nearly as much. But a lot of times when I talk about, strokes gained around the green or short game play, a lot of times I'm thinking about, can you score from those scenarios? So the 2 short par 4s, and then of course the 2 par 5s, that swale in front of the 18th hole on the front right when they put that back right pin on Sunday. Like, how many guys don't get up and down there when they're all sitting in the same spot? I mean, those are the types of situations. Yeah. Well,
Nico doesn't get up and down in the playoff.
he doesn't. And, there's a guy who's a great Bermuda grass putter, mid-range, 10 to 20 feet. And I love Nico this week. He's right in that range, sitting next to Kirk and McCarty. I think that 3-pack right there is really, really strong. We want to see players be able to, you miss a fairway, there's a palm tree in the way. The Bermuda grass rough is, let's say, 2.5 to 3 inches, and you have to like run something up. It's 20 yards short of the green, easy accessible pin. You pick the right angle, but do you get up and down? The lie is into the grain. And, all of that comes into play over the course of 72 holes. We're talking about splitting hairs if we're picking outrights. And I think that if you fail to evaluate players for that short game aptitude, especially when it comes to scoring, making birdies on those short holes or the par 5s, I think you're missing something in your model.
I just set the filters at the rabbit hole. You can get that at betsportsgolf.com. Just hit the description. The best players over the past 2 years in rounds where winds are 18 miles per hour and above, which looks like that we're going to see. Guys may play each of their first 2 rounds in those conditions. It seems like everyone on Friday will play in those conditions. Stephen Fisk is like by far the best player. Then it's Mac Meisner, Tom Hoagie, Henley, Keegan, Siwoo, Tricky Ricky Castillo, JJ Spawn. You got Adam Svensson into that. Cool Bet's own Adam Svensson in that mix. Luke Clanton is there. Ryan Gerard. So a lot of really good ball strikers. Corey Connors on that list as well if you're looking for it. That's just for approach play only, which I think would come in more handy here. Like, who is gaining in these rounds? Because then you're not even chipping. You're just putting from 50 feet.
Yeah, a lot of trap ball players there, Pat. A lot of guys that flight the ball low, whether there's wind or no wind. That list right there, those guys are all, they've got serious shaft lean and impact.
Tom Hoagie is in every signature event. He's like 1,000 to 1 to win this week or something crazy like that. Did he just lose it? Are there casinos on the island?
The driver hasn't been good. It wasn't good all last year. when he was at PGA National, he was taking a lesson from like 3 different coaches in 3 different days. I watched the whole thing take place, which is a shame because then he gets mad, throws the driver to the side, then he pulls out an iron and he hits the thing, like he works for the Highway Commission painting lines. And, then he goes back to the driver and he just can't seem to figure it out. So, if you could guarantee in a scramble that he had a partner that was going to hit the fairway, Tom Hoagie'd be a threat this week. Otherwise, he's dancing with the palms and the coconuts with Eric Cole.
So him, Eric Cole, Nick Dunlap's probably another one on that list.
Nick Dunlap has drastically improved his ball striking in the fall. This is just not a Nick Dunlap type of golf course. If Eric Cole can keep it anywhere near the fairway, he's proven before he can contend here. I mean, he is a great option. I just think that with the strength of this group, of this 120 this week, there's too many guys like a JJ or like a Nika, like guys that are just going to hit a ton of fairways and they're going to give him trouble.
So Kirk would be another one on that list. So you kind of mentioned this little mini range of Nico, Chris Kirk, Matt McCarty are all right there from anywhere from 37 to 55 to 1, depending on where you're shopping. The other one that falls in the middle there, a very good win player, a very good coastal player, maybe not the best at tight courses, but he did win at Bay Hill, so who knows? He avoided all the water at the 3M last year when he won. It's Kirk Kitayama, who was outside of Scotty and maybe Rico Hoey and Colin Morikawa has been the best iron player over the past 6 months.
100%. It gets very difficult for me when we're just talking about winners. Kirk Kitayama would be fantastic in live matchups this week. If you need a guy to make the cut, there's a tremendous guy that's extremely consistent because his ball striking is so good. But if you need him to score, you got to remember too, the average winning score here is around 19.2 under par, and the average winner birdie or better or subpar scores is around 24.5. So, he's going to have to use the putter. He's got the spike with the putter in week 1. We know the ball striking will be there, but gaining any sort of momentum when he hasn't played in months, to me, seems like something if you're hoping for someone to do something that they don't normally do in week 1, that kind of, I just think that there are other options that are better. But
let's go with this for a second. If you had to put on a skill right now, with everyone being rusty, it's week 1. You hope everyone plays to their baseline of what they're good at. If there was one type of skill that would just spike out of nowhere, do you think it would be approach? Would it be chipping? Would it be putting? Would it be driving? What do you think it would be?
That would spike out of nowhere. That's always going to be putting. And I understand that's your point with Kurt, but you are who you are at that level.
Mhm.
Ryan Gerard hits it a certain way. That's the way he's going to hit it. Russell Henley, impeccable ball strikers, like those types of guys. Keegan Bradley's going to hit it like Keegan Bradley. He's going to chip it really good. Your DNA is your DNA at that level. And a big part of that has to do with, in the lead up to this, you practice the things that you love to do. That's what made Tiger and probably what makes Scotty so good, is that they make their weaknesses their strengths and they keep rotating them. And that's really where the rest of the players, even these guys, is they're world class, so they're elite, but they tend to work on the things that they love to do because they're good at them. And yes, by all means, the easiest thing for them to do is spike with the putter. The hardest thing to do is to do something that you can't.
Eat better, train smarter. Maybe stop pretending frozen mystery meat is good enough. And honestly, starting strong is the easiest way when the food doesn't suck to get yourself ready to start the new year. That's where Omaha Steaks comes in. Premium, perfectly portioned protein shipped straight to my door. No guessing, no waste, just legit quality that actually fuels what you're trying to do. I loaded up on their USDA certified tender steaks and gourmet burgers, threw a couple fillets on the grill, which is out my back door, and there's not that much snow, so I can access it pretty easily. Salt, pepper, done, instantly tender. Way more flavor, better texture, zero stress compared to anything I've really cooked before. Let Omaha Steaks deliver high-quality proteins right to your door. Visit omahasteaks.com and get an extra $35 off with promo code MAYO at checkout. That's OMAHA steaks.com, promo code MAYO. Terms apply. See site for details. I think that you've sold me on Kirk and McCarty. I think I'm going to add them to the card.
All right. A little deeper down the board. We have a young up-and-comer. He did set the scoring record on the Korn Ferry Tour last year, and I'm not big on hyperbole, you know that, and I don't chase people normally, but I saw this kid play at RSM Live, and I walked with him for a day. John Kiefer is for real. This guy is going to be a tour player, a multiple tour winner. We shall see. At every level, you need to find, kind of where you belong. But um, you know, this kid's pretty impressive. And what I like about it most is that he does the thing that we really want to see here, which is he draws the ball off the tee. He's a good ball striker there. Can get a little loose, but he's a solid enough ball striker there that he can even lay back a little bit. And the putter is really, really strong. I mean, he's going to be first in the field in scoring probably.
So an excellent DraftKings play, if nothing else.
Oh, sure thing. Yeah, and he's sitting right, depending on the books that you're looking at down here in the States, he's sitting in your anywhere from like 70 to 75 range. And I think that that's a fair number for a guy that has that much talent. I was almost surprised it wasn't a little bit lower. Because and I didn't off the top of my head, I don't remember his DraftKings price, but he's a birdie machine.
I like him a lot this week. My issue with him is he falls in a range with a bunch of guys that I really like, and I'll probably end up adding one more of them. I ended up going with Billy Horschel already when his odds were a little bit deeper, but Kiefer's situated right now at 70 to 1, Mac Meisner 71, but Christoph Reiten 70 to 1 too. Like, dude's the 31st ranked player in the world. He's 70 to 1 in this tournament.
I like where your head's at there. I mean, you should always bet talent. That's for sure.
But but in your opinion, who has more of that talent? Like, they're both kind of unknown, aren't they?
Totally. I haven't seen so I've seen Kiefer. So it's not necessarily a recency bias. It's just I'm looking at what the things he does, and I know that golf course YLA in and out, and what it takes to kind of carve your way around there off the tee, stay out of trouble. The 5 holes that have water, 83 bunkers. I mean, and have some expertise when it comes to proximity to the hole, and then you're going to need to have a very solid putting week, and I think John Kiefer can pull that off.
I'll follow you on McCarty, and I'll follow you on Kirk. Maybe I'll just load up, whether it be the new Underdog drafts that are on the go, take Kiefer there. DraftKings, take Kiefer there. It feels irresponsible of me not to bet a guy who's ranked so highly in the world at these deep of odds. And Kiefer's pretty good himself. He's like 48th in the world or something.
I mean, he set the Korn Ferry Tour scoring record.
Yeah, but like Scotty did that too, and it took Scotty a bit to win on tour, as we remember. We forget that now, but for a while, like, he was a perpetual loser.
72 starts. Yep. We all had him in Houston, Memorial Park, where he didn't finish off there. And then, 4 months later, he beats Cantley in a playoff, walking right into the Super Bowl. So that was a good win. That was a good one.
Well, there's a bunch of Euros here who are playing in their first start that hasn't gone well in the first few years of this program qualifying from the DP World Tour. But Jordan Smith is a good player. He's pretty accurate. Maybe this course might be too easy for him. John Perry is someone who played really well at tight courses on the DP World Tour. I would not take Hao Tong here. He's sort of like the Chinese Nick Dunlap. He's going to spray it everywhere.
Yeah, he fares well at a place like Portrush, where there's like 3 trees on the property and they're all surrounding the clubhouse. So I'm with you there. There's a drastic change coming to this particular event from what they're used to on the DP World Tour. We've even seen that with the guys that come over from Asia that are incredible ball strikers, that it just really hasn't panned out. So, golly, I mean, Pat, this is the second most predictive golf course on the PGA Tour behind Augusta National. Now, Augusta National has a huge edge in that regard because it basically gets the same field of the same guys every year, and the same guys tend to win. Like, this is of the remaining, this is the most predictive place. And it is that way for a reason, which is why when you start to look down the board and you're like, oh, there's Chris Kirk, and man, oh man, and there's Russell Henley, and he's 11 to 1. I mean, Russell Henley wouldn't be 11 to 1 at any other course with this field.
So Brian Harmon is the play then. Brian Harmon loves this course.
I would almost like it to be a little bit harder for Brian Harmon.
But if the wind picks up, and I've heard they've grown the rough out like an extra inch, maybe that plays a bit more to his accuracy, iron, short game, and putting. Last year, he was actively bad last year. but not so bad that he would like lose all of his status or anything. But he was ranked outside the top 35 in like every strokes gained stat, which is really incredible considering he won a tournament last season. But when you boil him down to what he does best, it's this course.
It is. I mean, great driver of the golf ball, great putter, very good chipper, all on Bermuda grass, all of the above. It was 2 years ago that they started growing the rough out, gave it that extra inch. And, they've put the scoring in the teens there, which makes sense for this event. At par 70, I think that that's a really nice kind of, 18, 17 under winner. I mean, we've had a ton of playoffs recently. What's it been? 4 in the last 6. Certainly the last 2 in a row have been very, 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 very exciting. I don't know. Let's go down to the hundreds, see if there's anything that piques
Well,
your...
I just want to throw out that this is one of the more predictive courses. I have not heard one person this week say, I want to bet Nick Taylor to win. Who was 11th, 7th, 7th, 1st in his past 4 starts here.
I haven't heard anyone either.
But I'm not saying that I'm betting Nick Taylor. It's just that I found that very surprising.
I haven't heard that at all. I mean, for every time I haven't heard Nick Taylor's name, I've heard Harry Hall's name. And you and I haven't mentioned him at all.
You can beat it with Harry Hall. Come on now.
Again,
I'm so sick of this guy. You can't just gain 9 strokes putting every week. Like the guy gains the most strokes putting in the field every week and doesn't win. What happens when this was always my Denny McCarthy argument? What happens when he doesn't gain the most strokes putting? He's missing the cut by 100 shots.
Misses the cut. That's it. Yeah. It's the opposite of Kirk Kitayama. If you want to make a ton of cuts and be consistent and have 10 years on tour, then you need to hit it like Kirk. If you want to have a roller coaster career, then you're going to go the route of Denny McCarthy or Harry Hall.
And I think Denny's a better player than Harry Hall. Harry Hall's just happened to have a much better year last year than Denny had, but Harry Hall can't drive.
Brian Cregan, who teaches Denny McCarthy, has been saying, and Brian, I have a personal relationship with, would not blow smoke for me. And he just said, man, Denny is improving. He's getting really, really good with his ball striking. And if we could put him in a position where he's giving himself 3 to 4 more legitimate birdie chances per round, then I think that Denny has a chance to be a contender week in and week out when it's the right golf course. And I think that, that's part of the reason why I brought him up in the preview is just, if guys are working on the right things in order to kind of fill the gaps in their talent, I think that that's the right thing to do. But relying on the putter alone is no way to go through life.
I'm trying to see. Let's see. Denny's he has his spike weeks. Usually that's because of the putting. Has he improved his drive? Like, can he hit fairways? Can he hit enough fairways to make enough birdies here?
Well, it started because a couple of years ago, Denny was chasing speed, and then it just got really bad. And if you're a guy that only hits it so far, you have to stick with what you do. And a la build a career like Zach Johnson sort of thing. And when you start to chase speed, I mean, when Rory chased speed after, Bryson went through the whole speed thing, it kind of screwed him up. And think about the talent that Rory is. So you have to really kind of stick to your DNA, getting back to an earlier conversation we had. And Denny has learned to do that for the last, let's say, 24 months. And I think that as a result, someone like him stands a better chance if he's working on the right things. But guys like him, Harry Hall, Taylor Montgomery, I mean, how much can you spray it and save it by making 10 and 11 footers all day long?
It does seem like his driving accuracy is improving, if nothing else.
It is because he's reeled back the speed. He said, you know what, I'll hit it 290 and that's fine. And you know what, as far as I'm concerned, that's fine.
290 here is absolutely fine.
Oh, very much so.
And Denny has dropped to what? He's 65, 70 to 1 now?
Yeah, I'm not sure that right at the start of the season, if you're asking me bluntly, directly.
Okay.
But I think I talked about it in the preview. I think that Denny is going to get his first win this year, and I think that he's gonna pop up more often than he has been the last like year and a half because he's kind of resetting what it is. He's getting back to his DNA, and he's improving on the things he needs to do to give himself. We're talking about 2 to 3 more legitimate birdie chances per round, makes him 1.5 strokes better per round. And then over the course of 72 holes, you climb leaderboards. Over the course of months on the PGA Tour, you climb FedEx Cup points, and you put yourself in position more often than not. And the guy has proven that he could putt under pressure. It's not like he gets in one of those playoffs and the putter doesn't work. It's the other parts that have failed him before fail.
It's funny that I know that he chased down Akshay in that playoff that you're talking about when I think he shot 28 coming in and forced the
Yeah.
playoff, then chunked it into the water on after laying up on an approach shot on a par 5. It was great. I had Akshay that week. That was awesome. But with Danny,
Is that the one where Akshay got the rub down?
yeah, he like tore his ribs celebrating when he made the putt to get into the playoff, and he ended up winning it. It was great. But with Denny, I always feel like it seems like this type of course and this type of event is exactly where he would win. Like here, John Deere, hell, Travelers, one of these places where it's going to be a birdie fest. I actually think he'll end up getting a win at a hard course where those 11-footers, like a U.S. Open, not saying that Denny's going to win the U.S. Open, but he's performed well at U.S. Opens because other guys are struggling in the parts of the game where he always struggles, yet he continues to putt really well and chip really well, where like a Torrey Pines, I don't think would be out of the question for him, although it does not seem like at all a good course for him.
I kind of feel like you're right there, but I would go hard short, like PGA National,
Colonial,
or Innisbrook, something like that, where length is somewhat mitigated. And if he could just get the ball in play out there, 290, and then use his wedge game and use his putter and his short game, then I think that he's definitely going to be someone who could threaten. I think those are his best case scenarios for sure. This particular event here, right off the jump, not sure.
Okay. One and done for the week. I'm using Aaron Ryan, the 3-man that I'm doing. Obviously, I have 3 entries right now in the Mayo Cup. We need to juice it up a little bit. I might buy some more here to pump those numbers. You can join at fantasygolfchampionships.com. It starts this Thursday. $110,000 to the winner. $1.2 million guaranteed in that prize pool, regardless of how many people sign up. So if you get in right now, you're getting sick overlay. So you should probably do that. When you're thinking about the players that you wouldn't want to burn, this is a discussion I've had a few times this week, that out of all the players in this field, if you start running it through your mind, signature events have a ton of money, the players have a ton of money, and the Masters and the majors, have a ton of money.
Yeah.
Which one of these players, who in this field would you even consider using at a signature event or major?
Oh boy.
Like, are you saving Ben Griffin for a signature event?
Yeah.
Oh, you are? Okay. Are you saving Russell Henley for a signature event?
No.
So Henley would be on a list of this would be a good spot to use Henley, I think.
This would be a good spot to use Henley. I think this would be a good spot to use JJ. And there's some other guys like that. Again, I'm going to go back down to that area where I was, in between 35 and 55. And, my one and done this week, I'm going to go Nico.
But I guess my question with that is like, you're calling a shot on Nico. I like that. I assume you're going to bet Nico this week because you think he can win.
Yep.
If there's only 31 tournaments and you can only pick 31 guys, do you really want to use Nico?
I think that he's in the realm of definitely a top 5 style player for this event, for sure. Yeah.
These are the mental gymnastics I put myself through thinking about one and done. That do I even need to use Nico Echeverria at any point this year? Now, the answer might be yes, and you got to pick the right spot, and this would be one of the right spots. But if I only get access to 31 guys, that includes live guys at the major championships, he doesn't make the cut for me that way.
For me, one and done in these events where the purses are smaller, I tend to look for more consistent players that are going to give me some sort of bank and give me a very legitimate chance at winning. And then I really want to have the full inventory available to me. I very quickly said, well, I'm not using Russell Henley for a signature this year. But if Russell Henley starts playing out of his mind and then he goes to a golf course where he fits very, very nicely, then Russell Henley, I'd be happy that I still had him and then I didn't use him in the first event of the year. A roller coaster player who has probably the guy with the most talent in the field, that might be Hideki. But, 2 months off for Hideki in Japan, God only knows what he's been up to. He may not have touched a club. He might be on the range right now out there in the rain, with 16 drivers laying around his golf bag, testing clubs, for all I know.
A few other names.
That's what he does.
We didn't talk about Mav McNeely either. Great driver, great putter, but maybe not the best driver for this course.
I don't know. I guess I'm just not that much of a Mav McNeely whisperer at the end of the day. I tend not to handicap him very often. I tend not to bet him very often in the research that I do. And when I do see him, he's I mean, if Patrick Rogers is a C, then Matt McNeely's like a B plus, and
I love this comp. This is my favorite comp of all time. That Mad McNeely is just fancy Patrick Rogers. I love
it really
this.
is. I mean, think about it, right? Yes, he's won once, but um, Patrick Rogers had a lot of staying power, but he has not a lot of winning power. And Mad McNeely is on a very similar course.
So while you were talking, I did bet Chris Kirk at 45-1. And I bet I'm doing it right now. I'm punching in the bet. Matt McCarty at 50-1. I wish I had jumped on that earlier in the week, but you know what? I'm not going to cry about a bad number. If we think he can win, he can win. The more we've talked, the more I'm kind of coming around to the idea of JJ Spawn as maybe the guy from the top to take.
I think he's your most consistent chance for sure. I don't subscribe to the getting married and the distractions for Ben Griffin. I think Ben Griffin is an elite player. Is he a 3-time winner again? No, of course not. But can Ben Griffin win once per year for the next couple of years? I think he can. Can he contend in some majors? And does he have a very well-rounded game that's like pretty well suited to the PGA Tour? Yes, he does. And he seems to have pretty good head on his shoulders. So, but if you're just looking for somebody that you really think is going to show up, I mean, JJ is going to have the 4 best shirts over these next 4 days. You know it, right? It's going to be like he robbed them from your closet. They're not going to be tucked in. The wind is going to be flowing. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. Then he's going to come into the press room after shooting 65 and sound like Mike Tyson breakdown in a fight from 1989. It's going to be fantastic.
And we know he can play in conditions. I saw him win a major
Yep.
last year in conditions.
He did. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. No casual water for him, Sam Burns. That's right.
Was there, I know that when you looked at this board, you started scanning your eyes above 100-1, being that guy. Maybe not this week, but I know that there's guys on your radar that you love down here.
Guys that I love down here that are like a $5, let's wait and see.
Yeah.
Well, starting the week,
stocks.
you had a guy like Pearson Cootie down there, but he has moved way up the board. But certainly somebody like Jacob Bridgman definitely catches my attention. You already mentioned Austin Eckroat. He would be another guy here that, with that driver putter, PGA National experience. I always think of Austin Eckroat more of a PGA National guy than a Diamante guy. Kind of interesting that he won at both places. I was thinking about first round leaders, which is not a market I play a lot, but did you see where Cam Davis is on this board?
I did. So he's 325-1 to win this week. He was the first round leader here 3 years ago, I think.
Yeah.
Did I miss like a milk carton with his name on it that he just went missing for 8 months? What happened to Cam Davis?
I absolutely don't know. I haven't seen him in forever. As far as I was concerned, maybe he's out on the beach in a 2-man kayak with Aaron Wise, for all I know. I don't know, but I haven't seen him in forever out there. Certainly, I only made it to 2 events in the fall. I didn't see him at either of those, so he's probably down in Australia. And then before that, we had the playoffs, and I'm at the most important event, so I just don't see Cam Davis anymore. That guy was super talented. So it's interesting to see him down there in that 200 to 300 range, depending on where you're looking book wise. But that would be a guy I was just thinking about if you wanted to get odds over, 100, 150-1 on a first round leader. I mean, there's a place you could attack.
I don't mind that. I've always been of you do not think of him in this way, that Cam Davis is a short course merchant. This is where he excels. You'd always be, oh yeah, CJ Cup, Byron Nelson, Cam Davis is going to go rip it now. His best career finishes are at like the Heritage, Colonial,
Rocket.
Pebble Beach last year was another one. So maybe Sony just fits him well.
I think that when he gets into that fairway wood off the tee game, and he just puts the ball in the fairway, then his talent really takes over. And then you talk about somebody who could score, that has a lot of natural talent, uber athletic. It's just, when I was scanning down there and I was thinking about the history of this event in my head, I was like, first round leaders. Well, of course, we got to bet Aaron Rye on a Thursday. We got to bet Keith Mitchell on a Thursday. And then I was like, Cam Davis has been good at this event. There's always been the Australian, Hawaiian, kind of stereotype that hangs around a little bit. And whether that's true or not, Cam Davis has shown up on a Thursday here. So just kind of crossed my mind. And I was like, people, you ask me great questions. People always are looking for, a triple digit bomb on a Thursday. A lot of things need to go your way, but it's a triple digit bomb, folks. So
2
Take it for
years
what it
ago,
is.
Cam Davis was
Yeah.
the first round leader, shot at opening round 62. Last year, there were 6 guys tied for the first round lead. Harry Hall, Adam Schenk, who I want to get to in a second, Eric Cole, Denny McCarthy, Tom Hoagie, and Paul Peterson. Is Paul Peterson a lefty?
Oh, that's a great question.
Or am I thinking of Morpheus, Patrick Fishburne? I get those two guys confused. I think Paul Peterson is a lefty.
Patrick Fishburne's definitely a righty.
Okay, then Paul Peterson is a lefty. So in
And
2000,
Patrick Fishburne's a lot bigger than Paul Peterson.
that's true. Cam
Yeah.
Davis, 62 in 2024. Chris Kirk is 64 in 2023, tied with Spieth and Taylor Montgomery. Kevin Na, 61 the year before that. Jim Furyk and Russell Henley. So those are the last 4 years of first-round leaders. Again, we're
Wasn't that the Spieth year? Wasn't that the year he missed the cut? Because
No,
the
he
second
went-
round he shot over 70.
he went full Keegan?
Yeah, either that or he made it like on the number. Yeah.
I like that Keegan has rebounded so nicely since I think it was the first year I started like covering golf full time. That Keegan was the first round leader at Valspar that he missed the cut. So we just refer to that as going full Keegan.
I love it. I love it. I love learning, the Mayo dictionary.
Yeah, the lore of everything. Let's see. Spieth has played this. When did I say he was? Yeah, he did get cut that year. That he was the first round leader.
Right?
But
Yeah,
he was-
did. Yeah.
He was third, 18th in his first 2 ever starts here that he's been cut and cut. There's not a lot of buzz around him this week either. Do you like Spieth at all?
Nah, this isn't a good golf course fit for him. I mean, as evidenced by he was the first round leader, tied for it, and then he was gone the next day. This is not a good roller coaster course. This is a JJ Spawn, ball striker, Russell Henley type golf course. Very interesting that Hideki has won here recently, but Nick Taylor is the same type of guy. Ball strike the heck out of it and get the putter going, and then get it going late on a Sunday, and you're going to have an opportunity.
Nick Taylor's stats don't make sense as a guy who's now won, I think, 5 times on the PGA Tour. Like, he's not really good at anything, yet certain weeks he's awesome at everything. I don't get it at all.
The guy knows how to close. I was there at WMPO when he hunted down Charlie Hoffman, and he just kept making that putt on 18, and I was on the bridge going back over to the clubhouse, and I'm like, can we go watch the Super Bowl, please? Like, do we have to, we're going to do this again. Okay, great. And he made another putt. And I'm like, man, the stones on this guy is unbelievable. And Charlie Hoffman was like 44, 45 at the time. The Seagull is like fighting for his last like historic win, wearing the Waste Management green and everything. And Nick Taylor just wouldn't give up. So since then, when that guy's in contention, he was sitting in the middle of the 72nd fairway. He only plays 2 more shots. He has a fairway wood in regulation, and his odds were still well over triple digits. Some people had him at 200 to 1 and could bet him, and he goes fairway wood, gap wedge, chip in, and the guy ends up winning the event. And if you didn't bet it now, like when we're talking about it, and you waited till almost the very last second, 200x. Unbelievable. That's why you bet golf.
Your leaders over the past 18 months on Bermuda grass greens. Harry Hall, Nico Denny are your top 3. Zach Johnson, S.H. Kim, who got his tour card back. He's in the field.
Yep.
Ben Griffin, Matty Schmidt, McGreevy, Webb Simpson, Vince Whaley, Bo Hostler, Mav McNeely, Jacob Bridgman, Mac Meisner, Russell Henley, Austin Eckroat, and then Cam Davis.
And then Cam Davis. Yeah.
And then Jordan Spieth. Spieth's up there too.
Yeah. Well, hey, make sure you save me some time for some rapid fire. I'm ready for you.
All right. Well, you hit me with your rapid fire, and anything else you want to ask me about this. You're the insider. I could pepper you with questions for the next 8 hours. Just ask you about players, courses, whatever. But if you do ever have questions for me, feel free for me to give you a terrible response, and probably one that's wildly inaccurate.
Well, the issue with having the final word on the second most predictive golf course on the PGA Tour is that we are who we thought they were. Is really what it comes down to. There's no tricks to this golf course. The only trick is trying to figure out who's been working hard in the offseason, who's not messing with equipment, who is happy with their coach and their personal life at home, who's settled with where they stand in the world of TGL. And, those are the only question marks this week, a lot of which are going to be unknown until we start to see some ball striking on Thursday. This is a huge opportunity this week for live markets and to have some fun, especially in the head-to-heads, because we'll know right away on a Thursday who hasn't picked up at a club in a while, and then we'll be able to attack those guys on Friday before they go home, and then we'll start to see some trends going into the weekend for head-to-heads, which is what I really love to do.
And you'll have your head-to-heads posted at readtheline.com, right?
Yep, Friday 5. always on a Friday will come out, and easy this time of year because they're 6 hours behind us. And then there's always a Saturday card. There's always a Sunday card, somewhere between 1 to 3 or 4, depending on um, what I'm seeing and the matchups and the odds. And we do it every single week. I think we did like 600 or something of them last year.
Two last things before we get to the rapid fire. One, Marco Penge, it turned out, bet on himself, and he got suspended for betting at one point. So it's not shocking he's a gambler, but he turned down an 8-figure deal from Liv to take his card and join the PGA Tour. He's ill this week, so he's not in the field. But he also switched from Mizuno to PXG. He's a PXG guy now.
Ooh. Like, are you still a PXG guy, Pat?
I play my PXG. I went to the simulator this morning for the first time, working on leg, like really trying to generate power with my lower body, and I looked like a giraffe on ice for about 25 minutes as my coach tried to help me change my swing, and I started finally getting it and started ripping it by the end. We'll see if that's repeatable a week from now. The next time that I go, see if I can remember that muscle memory. But I've really enjoyed the PXGs, but outside, I guess, JJ Spawn plays PXGs, doesn't he?
JJ Spawn, PXG guy. Off the top of my head, I can't say accurately.
I thought
it does.
he was.
It does sound right. Jake Knapp, PXG guy. Zach Johnson, a couple others.
Luke List was. You don't hear much from Luke List anymore.
Yeah. Well, we're not covering the Corn Ferry this week, so.
Is he on Corn Ferry really?
Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to win the one and done this year. The Mayo one and done. And then what's the first place again?
$110,000.
Yeah. And then what I'm going to do is that you and I are just going to charter flights back and forth from New York City to up there to where you are in Canada. And then we're going to work on your ground forces in your game in the off season. That's what we're going to do. Get you hitting the ball a little harder.
Yeah, I'm trying. It's starting to work a little bit better. So we'll see how it goes. Hit me with a rapid fire.
All right. You ready? Here we go. Daniel Berger or Jordan Spieth this week?
Berger. Love Berger.
Well, Sony PlayStation or an Xbox guy?
I don't think I've ever played an Xbox.
All right. Well, it's Sony week. Probably their last.
Give me a Sony.
I figured I'd give them a question. In your opinion, most important skill needed to win the Sony?
A great pitching wedge to 8-iron.
On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most, right? How much are you going to miss Ben on?
6.
Wow, a 6. You like Ben on that much, huh?
Not ever really one of my guys.
Oh, so 6 is kind of, 10 would be the most you're going to miss him. So
yeah, 6. I'm going to miss him. I like Ben Ann enough. Like, I guess 1, I don't really care. Like, Dietrich's a 1 for me. Like, get that guy out of my life. Ben Ann, I enjoyed having Ben. I drafted a bunch of Ben Ann in the Underdog Scramble, so I could kind of pissed off that he left.
So I'm surprised you didn't give him like a 2. Favorite kids movie you have seen recently?
Ooh. I watched School of Rock with my kids 2 days ago, and they loved it. And I love it, so it really worked out. It's better than most of the crap they watch.
Jack Black, right?
Jack Black.
That's a really good movie. Yeah. We talked about this earlier, but just Bryson, John, or Cam, any of them switch?
No.
Better season this year, Brooks or Colin?
Colin.
Are you a good cook?
Yes.
Ooh. What are you really good at making?
Meat. Like, you need me to cook you a duck? I can cook you a duck. I do so much in the sous vide, so I always get the temperature exactly right. Everything cooks all the way through. So like, if you come over to my place for a steak, I'm not going to throw a steak on the grill for you. I will sous vide said steak and then whip out the cast iron pan, get all the seasonings in, and make sure it gets seared at the proper amount. And then boom, it's like you're in a restaurant.
I got to win this one and done and get up there.
And what I will do is, and instead of like I'll put a little bit of butter in it, a little bit of herbs, but duck fat inside that cast iron to get the sear going. And then you put your potatoes in that duck fat too while everything is frying up after they've been cooked. So they get seared on the outside. You get that crispy potato seared in duck fat, which is just golden and chewy on the inside, along with a perfectly very bloody medium rare steak that is like that crispy outside as well. Yeah, Keith, you and your wife come up. I'll make it for everybody.
Oh, book it. All right. 2 more. White Lotus 1 was filmed at the resort here at YLA. All right. So I hear you're a pop culture fan. Which is your favorite season of White Lotus? 1, 2, or 3?
2.
Oh, the Italy one. All right. Last one. Who wins the Sony this week?
Daniel Berger.
All right. I'm going Chris Kirk.
All
Take
right.
it away,
Well,
Pat.
I hope you're right because I bet on Chris Kirk now too. We've talked about Berger. We talked about a bunch on the preview show. Just if he just remembered how to chip and putt, he's fine.
Yeah. That's a lot to remember.
It was getting better towards the end of the year.
I mean, the ball striking is so good. And I told you the story about TPC River Highlands. He just didn't have a lot of confidence with it.
Yeah, and
Hopefully-
I think it was John who even commented that he was following around Daniel Berger. Like, dude's just an absolute mental case, right?
Yeah. Yeah. A good guy's guy, but yeah, he's pretty frustrated when he can't just do whatever he wants with a golf club for sure.
I forget where it was. I can't remember if it was at not River Highlands, Southwind. Yeah, it was at Southwind. Someone told me he was renting out one of the houses like right next to the course and that everyone had to leave. He could only rent it by himself and he blacked out the entire like master bedroom with like blackout blinds and everything because that's how he had to sleep.
That's pretty deep right there. No comment.
I just thought it was really strange. Like, you can't just chill and sleep in a nice Airbnb. Now you need to go in and like customize it so there's no light that gets into a room.
I mean, these guys, they're high-level performers. They need specific green room instructions for sure.
It's like Louis. Louis has to get his mattress to be shipped around with the tour so he can sleep when he gets to places.
I tell you,
Yeah,
this is an endless wormhole. Take us away.
Everyone has their preferences. All right, Keith, thank you so much. Readtheline.com. You'll have, I'm guessing, your picks up there. Are you doing any extra content on Wednesday?
No extra content. No extra content yet on a Wednesday. That's pending. But as always, 9 a.m. Eastern time, we will launch, publish, drop the newsletter. All the picks will be in there for those that subscribe. If you haven't already, please do. I mean, $10 a month. It's a bargain. $99 a year. It's the start of the year. Jump in with us. Myself, Pat, every Tuesday. We're going to have a ton of fun. Let's do this.
Yeah, this will come out on Wednesday morning. Just as a reference.
Oh, all right. Well, right around the same time.
Perfect. See, we can work in conjunction. I can put a link to your newsletter in my newsletter, which comes out completely free on Wednesday afternoons, which will have the final bets, the updated weather, the DraftKings ownership, all the cheat sheet info that you need to know about the golf tournament this week. It will be in there along with mine, Jeff, and Cuss. One and done picks. Remember to sign up for the one and done at fantasygolfchampionships.com. You can access that by typing that into your browser, your phone, or just hitting the description. The direct link is down there. Please, for the love of God, play in it. I'll be live 8 p.m. Eastern time Wednesday on Mayo Media Network, taking all your questions about the Sony Open. Thank you all for watching. For Keith and Pat, that was the final word. We'll see you next time.
Mayo Experience! Experience!